Hey there, welcome back to Arms Trade Tycoon. In the previous episode, I ended the episode with fixing up the M3 Lee, also known as the stopgap medium tank. I want to see if this thing actually lives up to expectations now, because so far I was never able to meet that protection requirement, and because it is so important to them, your deficit here is enormous, and it was just insurmountable with the other stats that I had in mind. Then I came up with the dual gun carrier, and then in the previous episode I made this one, the V2, and look at that success score. 2397. It's because right now I'm massively overperforming on the amount of protection as well as firepower hard, so the main gun, if you will. This means that if the Canadians, which I'm currently trying to supply, want this tank, they want to, at the maximum, 120 of these vehicles, and that's going to take me a lot of time. And it's going to cost them a lot of money, because this is my first contract for $13 million. Yes, that's very nice. Of course, they will not really like it when other, well, actually, negative reputational for the other enemies of this state. So, wait, the Americans and the Canadians are clashing. Where have I seen that before? Anyway, yes, I'll say yes to 13 million. It is going to be an expensive operation for me in man-hours. Thankfully, my production lines are just finishing up another contract that I have, and that should mean they're now available for something else, because I was still trying to supply the Spanish with a couple of T-34 V4s. Regarding the T-34 version 4.1, I think they might also like that one. I think that's the multi-purpose. And let's see, no, they don't like it. It's not good enough. Because what they're actually seeking is one of those links. They want me to buy the inside for 400k, which used to be a lot of money, but now it's not really as bad. 658, 900 for the clone. Hold on a second, I can change the links to also have additional armor now. The problem is, they don't really care about protection as much. Yes, it's not really doing many favors. I can give them the additional alloy, and that should fix most of the issues, because it's the turret that I don't like. The frontal thickness, and I can potentially fix kinetic resistance a bit by just changing the turret. So let's look into that. Let's have a look at the design, because that is actually fairly easy fixable. Let's go to design. I would love to have just another offering. Where are you? You were down here. There. So let's duplicate this, and let's only look into the medium universal turret that they're sporting. I can clone this one, and I can say you're going to get a different turret, which will have a bit more kinetic resistance. All I need to do is add the alloy that I have now unlocked, the decrementally hardened steel. The rest of it is fine. The rest of it is fine. It's considered an airborne tank. No, it is really not. It's considered the multi-purpose, I think. So let's reselect that role. Because maybe I originally built this turret for that, but it's no longer used for that. It's going to be the multi-purpose tank, which means that they do require some crew performance. Crew awareness would be nice to have. Crew awareness is that stat, which over here is worse. So let's get them some better crew awareness. And we're pushing it to 194, and I think you cannot really get any better than that. The reflective vision port. We already got the best radio in there. We got a hatch, which is going to give them a bit more crew safety potentially. Right now I'm getting a crew safety of 8. I can push that to 15, 201, and that's the highest that will go. The riveted assembly is something I still don't really have a better option for. And the amount of armor protection isn't that important. So I can save this design and I can assign some engineers. And with that, we can go back to design. Just add the gun again. Let's see, what sort of gun were you using? Was that... This is the Mark II 6-pounder. Okay, fine. We'll just add that again. I don't really want to have to fix that issue if I don't really need to. I'm going to kick this machine gun out. They don't need to have 2 machine guns. And I'm going to just add that machine gun here. The MG34. And now I'm going to say it's not the clone. It's the Lynx Ausführung C. And I think crew is going to be fine. Crew's actually slightly overperforming. I can now change this, however, to make that kinetic pen even better. Because they're still using some decent shells. I mean, they're not bad shells, but by now I have access to some better gear. So let's add these, I think it's the HV shells for 8. No, the enhanced effect shells. There you go, 246. All-purpose incendiary, they don't really care about that stuff. It's a Mark II 4. It's a Mark II, it's a tier 2 machine gun? No, it's considered a tier 3. I maybe not have any tier 3 ammo unlocked yet, because I don't typically prioritize the machine gun. Alright, we're going to also give them the interceptor fuel, which is going to make crew performance worse. Oh, it's worse for crew safety. This is very good for crew safety, so let's stick with that. And for this, we got synthetic oil, and that's about the best I can get. So, save that. And we're looking at a stat now of 3072 versus, let's say, 2980. Also, interestingly, I'm actually reducing the amount of man-hours on the tank. Interesting. It's still slightly worse attribute sum than here, but with that additional kinetic resistance on the turret, maybe I can still turn a hefty profit from this thing. Although, actually, the money cost is higher. Because they might not require as many man-hours, but they do need more resources. Oh. Okay. Well, fine. First we're going to engineer that turret, and once that's done, we'll continue with the rest of the operation. So far, I think I've sold most of my tanks of this type, the T-34V1. It's how far has been a fantastic tank. You can see I've sold 813, however that's very different models. And I decided to make an upgrade. We've already done the V4. I've done the V4.1. And now I have done the V4.2 high tech. This thing has basically the best gear that I have on offer. And you can see that the attribute sum goes from 3045 to 3057 to 3109 to 3466. That is a really high-end tank, and the British want them. They want me to supply 114 of these things. That's a lucrative contract for 12 million. Unfortunately, with the Canadian contract, I was a tad late. So now I'm going to have to try and crank these things out as quickly as possible. 114 tanks is a really big order. I have stocked up on supplies, and hopefully I can get these things out the door in time. You really need all supply lines going in order to get that done. Because 114 tanks, if you just assign that to one line, yeah, that takes about a year. So, let's not do that. And let's say I want to go 30, well, let's say 33. That's 104 days. See, even that is cutting it pretty close. We're going to go 1, another for 33, and that is 66 plus... Good lord. I have had a couple of nights with poorer sleep lately. So, my brain is not feeling very cooperative today. Okay, so minus 33 is we need another 48 tanks here. Excellent, let's get that done. I think we might be in trouble there. Whatever, let's get to work on that. And once these supply lines or these production lines are done, we can continue on with the rest. We can just start cranking these things out as quickly as possible. The only thing I really cannot afford is fire in the production hall. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes when that happens, that can really set you back. 15 days in a situation such as this can be crippling. Now, hold on, what was that world event? What did they have? They unveiled a new tank? Is that really important though? Because I unveiled new tanks, well, every second day. There's one new component. That's a new machine gun. And I can buy that for 200k. Yeah, fine. The rest of them, like a T-28, I think everything about this is outdated. It's a tier 2 tank. I don't really care for that. There is a trophy here. That's another tier 2 tank. The FCM. This is all old stuff. The only thing over here is a new GMC, so a new engine. Rheinmetall doesn't have anything new. The Odin. I wonder if I could still make that thing feasible. Because that's essentially a World War I tank. Okay, what can we do with the Odin? This is going to be a bit more for shits and giggles rather than actually be a serious tank. Here you are. The Odin Ausführung C. No. Not on my watch. We're going to build a new one. We're going to make this thing the best that it can be. So all the high-tech stuff, as much as we can cram in there. Which means it's going to get... Oh, you can only use tier 1s? Come on. I hate that that's not compatible. Right now, it's 1943. We should be able to know how to apply or use a different alloy when making this tank. But no, we can only make FHA steel. So that means there's probably not that much potential to make all sorts of weird and wonderful designs with this tank. That sucks. I was really hoping to turn this thing into something delightfully weird. Unfortunately, it is rather limited. It's just a big machine gun carrier, but if it doesn't have much... you can add tier 2s. Which will definitely improve their stats a bit, because right now it's using what? It's using the Maschinengewehr with a stat of 155, so I can pretty much double that. Your main gun is this, the 170. I can push that slightly higher, never mind. I'm not going to waste any time on this. It's simply not worth it. Because there's no real market for that tank anyway. Speaking of market, something I've noticed is that the contracts are kind of drying up. There used to be a whole list of these things, and right now, it's like everybody has their, well, their divisions filled. They don't really seem to need any more. Now, let's see, do they want this? Oh yes, they definitely want this tank. Look at the stat change here. This thing is, however, 8k more expensive to build. So you might be able to get a lot of money out of it. But again, it's kind of over-engineered. Even if you extend the deadline, it's way over-engineered. You can get away with the V1, even the V4. The V3 isn't good enough. Why? Because it doesn't have as much firepower hard as the V4 does. Okay. The Lynx, not quite good enough. Also pretty expensive to build at 26. This is not good enough because it doesn't have the protection. This will probably do it, but it's very expensive at 38k of tank. So we're not touching that. The Vomit Comet. It can work, but it's 29k to build. I do have a heavy Churchill, but it's even more expensive. That leaves me with the Matilda for 23, which is not what they seek. And then we're going up to territory of light Tetrarch tanks, which is just really not good enough. So arguably, if I wanted this contract, which I don't, because I'm too busy with the other one, I could get... I think I could get it with the V4 fairly easily. They're offering a Valentine Mark II. See, that's one of the tanks that I'm currently researching. That's something I cannot build yet, because I kind of skipped over it. I decided that I want to prioritize other things. So here we can see the medium Valentine. And I'm also working on the cruiser hull for the heavy Cromwell, because I'm looking forward to just tinkering with those two. Let's see which one completes first. 74 days is going to be the cruiser hull. Okay. Oh, actually, no, it's going to be the other one, the improved medium. I think we're going to have to focus on the medium Valentine. The question, though, is there enough of a market to really warrant that much attention? How many nations still want an economical infantry tank? Because if it turns out that there aren't that many, maybe I can just skip it. It'll not be worth it. Let's filter this to tier 3 again. Let's say I want this. Yeah, the infantry tank is obsolete. I get that. Select. All the way to the left. Yeah, there's 5 nations who still want those. So I guess for that, yes, it could be feasible. Alright, maybe we can build one. Research complete. It's Valentine's Day. The medium Valentine series has some interesting potential, as there is quite a lot of demand for the economical infantry tank. So I'm going to try and make it that, and see what they desire and what they require. They require some pretty hefty protection, which is something that the hull can offer. There is no turret at present, so that shouldn't be too difficult. The heavy firepower, I think I can make work. If I can keep this thing fairly low in basic man hours and just not crank up the price that much, I can probably make some lots and lots of money. They really don't care about this thing's mobility, but they do want it to be repairable. And I think for that, this is a pretty decent option. The alternative is the German one, which is absolutely the opposite of repairable. And beyond that, we got the American one, which is doing a 39. I got the V2 VAR, which has 48. We're getting a 56 here. Yeah, we'll stick to the 56. Then we have a running gear. I have recently unlocked the Sphinx, which I think works very well with it. Unfortunately, the running gear isn't particularly reliable, but part of this can still be fixed with the ability under expendables, I think. Turret. We need some firepower on this thing, and it has to be very well armored. I just keep coming back to the M3. It just keeps end up being this thing. But this is expensive. And I do not like expensive. See, this is good enough. The protection status 400. That is good enough. Do I need this? I think I do, because I cannot put a side mount machine. Well, this is the primary gun, so that's going to be the... Let's see if I can clone that and make it cheaper, actually. That one. I do need this, otherwise I don't have a machine gun on there. However, I don't need all that protection. So let's just use the cheaper one and say you're going to get the cheap machine gun. Now, what do I need? Whoa. Crap, I should have saved that tank. We're going to go with the economical infantry tank over here. And they want a high kinetic pen, accuracy. Accuracy is good enough. Rate of fire is good enough. I don't know if I have any better parts. I got this, which is going to give you more accuracy at the expense of some ROF. And the stat change is minimal. The weight is fine. The displacement is fine. Okay. Over here, we're currently using the widened cylinder for additional accuracy and rate of fire. I don't think we're going to find much better than that. Well, the advanced mechanism. We're getting an 18. Yep, slight change. Then we have the stabilized optics. This is a tier 3-1, but I have access to a tier 3-5, which is going to increase range at the expense of accuracy. Interesting, that's not what I want. Range is very much unimportant. Accuracy is important. This is really not going to change my stats that much. It's going to make them slightly worse, in fact. So I guess we're stuck with the improved optics. No, the stabilized optics. And over here we got the breach. This one I think I picked for the ROF. Because you got a 22 ROF with that one. The improved breach block. And this one's going to give you a 20. The howitzer breach block 4. Man hours 941. So that increases the requirement for man hours, which I do not want to do. Save. Oh crap, now I cannot go back to the design because I didn't save it. Oh well. Back again. Medium Valentine. You're going to get that engine, which is good enough. You're going to get those tracks, which are good enough. You're going to get the turret, which is good enough. You're going to get that secondary turret at 466. You're going to get the improved gun. That is this draft, which takes slightly more man hours, but we're like talking 60. And then you're going to get the machine gun. You're going to add some crew. They don't like mobility. Obstacle trench width could be a problem. Overloaded driver. Well, we don't have a driver. Maybe that makes a difference. The commander is going to be a full-time one. We need a gunner and I think a split mechanic loader. So you're going to be mechanic loader and you're going to be a gunner. And now we are looking at attributes for this. Ta-da! The tank is light enough. The tank has more than enough protection. It has presently a lot of firepower. Its repairability isn't as good, but let me change that. Diesel fuel or interceptor fuel, this is going to increase the reliability, but not the repairability. This is going to give it operational range. I need additional repairability, so I'm going to use stabilized fuel. And now that is fixed. The running gear, If we can make the running gear 1 point more reliable, that'd be great. And the structure of the tank is a problem. It's the turret. The turret is not very repairable. So maybe I need to look into that turret. I could give them a different turret. It's going to come at the expense of that protection, because this thing has a lot of kinetic resistance. And not as much frontal ricochet. Oh, sorry, it's this one. The problem is, the rest of them are not as good. That's the thing I don't like about it. They're just not as good. Man hours are going to be around 2800 if I take this one. So you're losing quite a lot on the turret. That I don't like. So I guess we're going to be going with that M3 turret again. Again, I could make it very expensive. No. Trash this one. Trash the draft. I could make it very expensive, but I really don't want to. I want to have this thing be a moneymaker. So use that. I'll still put the American gun in, because that's the only thing that you can fit on this. That one. And the machine gun. Crew. Done. Expendables. You're going to need a lot of kinetic pen. Have I got the shells for you? You're going to not really get a lot of accuracy out of that, though. That's interesting. What if we add a gun? We don't have a gunner. We do not have a gunner. And there's your accuracy. Okay. Finally, we're going to add some machine guns, which they don't seem to care about. So do this. Come on. Phosphorus and all-purpose incendiary. Actually, no, the heavy steel core. Bit more diversity there. And finally, we got synthetic oil, which can definitely help with our repairability. Because this is going to improve reliability, and we need a repair ability. This is going to improve reliability and repairability by 25. This is only going to give it 5. What are we going to get? 139, 56, 163. There. Okay, the medium Valentine Mark 1 V1. It's going to get the deep Brunswick green. Is that thing expensive? Yes. 24k. And it got quite a few man hours on it, which are spread out across most things, including the engine. It's going to have a pretty beefy engine for what it really needs. So maybe I can still swap out the engine for something else and change the amount of man hours for that, because it's 5500. If I can change it to something lighter, that'd be great. 4500. It does, however, require more crew. And its repairability is going down. And therein lies the problem. Therein lies the problem. If I go with this one, you're getting a 99. And how many crew hours are we looking at? Man hours? 23. Improvement. Improvement. Do we still have enough crew for everything? Yes, actually. Yes. The commander's a little too busy for my taste. What are you so busy with? Is that maybe because you got all sorts of duties here? I'm not sure exactly what the base variant is, but if we can change that, that would probably help. See, here we can take some tasks away from the commander at the expense of crew awareness, but they don't seem to care about that anyway. We're using a different hatch here. I don't think they care for these stats, really. Yeah, repairability is important. So that does change. The large hatch is even better. Let's go with the 59. Over here it's additional ammo stowage, which we don't need. We have access to the cooled heatsink. This is not really going to change much when it comes to repairability, but it does change reliability. Do we have anything that changes repairability? Not really. Everything is reliability. In that case, let's go for the highest stats, so long as it doesn't take too many more man hours, which it does. This is a tier 4 from 1939, and this is a tier 3 from 1943. Okay, we'll stick with this. Unless I can cheap out on it. 135 man hours. Yep, you're going to get the low profile ventilation. As for additional fuel, do we need that? Operational range 24. What if I kick that out? 7. Who needs to go anywhere anyway? Okay. I'm not sure this will fit everything. Then again, they want something economical. I'll give you something economical. We were using the VAR 3. Oh, sorry, the VAR 1v3. And I think we had the Sphinx. Maybe I can change the Sphinx to be cheaper as well. The turret was going to be the cheaper turret, which was still feasible. This one, I think. Then a gunner. This one. And the gun. We're going to improve the gun. We're going to add the machine gun. Crew. The crew requirements have now changed. I can have a driver. Oh, sorry, I can have a gunner commander. I can have a driver. And I can have a loader mechanic. So I can have this double up. Your stats aren't going to be stellar, but they're good enough. I'm not sure how one commander, aka gunner, and mechanic loader are going to get me that rate of fire. But if the game says so, I'll take it. Okay, that. You want your machine gun stats, heavy core, and we're going to go for phosphorus for shock. You're going to get this for repairability, because this one was worse. And you're going to get this one for additional repairability. Unfortunately, repairability for the power unit's not great. Not great. Hold on, did I put the wrong engine in? The V2 VAR 1? No, that is the right engine. Clone the engine. I want to see if I can improve the repairability of that engine. This one first. Yes, I want to save the design this time around. So, repairability is what we're looking for. This is not for the economical tank. We are looking at it for this one. Repairability. What do we need? This is reliability. Reliability, repairability. Currently we're getting an 11 here. We can get a 12 for the wide contact flywheel, which is going to marginally improve it. I think that's the gearbox. We can get some profits here. Unfortunately, it's going to come at the cost of having an additional mechanic aboard. But I think we can do that. The lightweight gearbox pushes this all the way up to 39. And that's about as good as it's going to get. You can get it for 13 if you take the high torque, which is going to give you additional road speed. Road speed present, 36. Oh, it doesn't change much. Okay, fine. In that case, I think the 39 is the best stat I can offer them. It just gets progressively worse from there. Okay, 39. That's the one. As for these, since it doesn't change a whole lot, let's cheap out. And 504 is the cheapest thing. The brakes. 404. Brakes not found. I can go with the asbestos ones. 4103, 4106, whatever. It's 3 points. Fine. Save. Go work on that. Go back to design. Any day now. Okay. The Sphinx. The Sphinx. This one also needs reliability. Sorry, no, repairability. That's what they want. They want to be able to fix this thing on the field. And right now the running gear is kind of holding it back. Repairability over here is 8. If I push that to this one, we're getting 10. So we're doing a heck of a lot better. Oh, sorry, this is reliability. This is repairability. That's the tier 3-4. The toothed idler. I think that's the best we can get. The wide contact sprocket. This is reliability. We have a repair ability here with a strong sprocket of 12. So we're getting 72. Stats are changing a little bit, but that's fine. I can get a ×4 modifier. Over here we have fewer mechanics needed. I think I need this. Otherwise, I find that I don't have enough room for the crew. The mechanic's already doubling as a loader. And this doesn't change much anyway. So let's stick with that. Save, assign, design. Good. Roll. 123. Structure. Mismatched plates? Oh crap, it's too heavy. No, it's not. Yes, it is too heavy for the tracks. Shit. Okay, so we need to change the tracks to have the capability of supporting more weight, or I need to cut weight somewhere else. The medium Valentine itself is pretty heavy. Okay. So it's the hull. Can I change this to have a little bit less weight? Yeah, just kick out the whole ventilation system. Who needs ventilation for the crew anyway? Boom. Done. Does that add a whole lot? Unfortunately not. 65 kilograms. It doesn't really change that much. The welding, I can get it to lightened to change it to 1%. Which is going to also offer additional repairability, which is what they want. Is that going to be enough? That 1%? I can also kick out the radio, but that's going to, again, increase the commander requirements. I don't want to do that. So what are we looking at now? Crap, we're still over. If I change this thing in engineering... Hold up. The engineers are already working on it, aren't they? Stop. I need modifications to the running gear for... Filter that. Just tier 3. It's the Sphinx here. Unfortunately, I cannot easily clone it. Okay, let's go with the clone again. Yes. We got a 540 on everything. It doesn't really matter. It's just the weight and, more importantly, the displacement. And that means that this thing is going to be heavier by a lot. The independent bogey system is going to give you more operational range, but it will also require additional mechanics. Okay. Fine. I can also get the independent bogey, which is going to reduce mechanics by 1. Okay, let's save that. And go back to design. This tank is going to be a bit more complex to engineer than I was hoping. Where is it? Here. So that is the Sphinx V3. There. Now we can use it. But the problem is now we need an additional mechanic. And I can only have one mechanic. So the mechanic's going to be a little overloaded. Can I have a gunner? You can only get... Crap. Well, I can have a mechanic here, I guess. So you're going to be a mechanic driver? Yeah. And then we'll have a loader gunner in here. That should do. Repairability still isn't good enough. But that's because it kicked out these parts. So repairability takes a boost. And over here it takes another boost. And now we're at level. Good. So save it now. Not bad. 22,000 man hours. That's a bit more producible. Yeah, I'm going to keep it as is. I think it's an okay tank. I am getting a little bored of the M3 Elite turret, though. Because I'm using it on everything. It's just because it's such a good turret. It's actually too good for what I need it to do. Oh well. That'll be that. Time for the great test. Is this something that clients want? We have a client here for the economical tank. I can offer them the Churchill, which they hate. The heavy Churchill they hate even more. And the medium Valentine they love. That's what I want to see. It's going to cost me 26k to build it, but with this much margin of error, I can have them paying a lot more. I can even buy myself more time. I can offer them more tanks. It's only really a relatively small contract by today's standards at 4 million. But hey, I can get some experience building the medium Valentine. So let's turn this tank into production and let's make some money with it. I'm going to be doing that off screen because just building the tank doesn't seem to be that interesting to me. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the Valentine. Let me know how you have built the Valentine if you have. I look forward to seeing your results down below in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon for more.